Welcome to our series of CDA webinars for this year 2024. Today presenting an overview of the Home Visitor CDA Assessment and Credentialing System. I bring greetings, welcome you to the series of these webinars, and I bring greetings to you from Washington, D.C., from our CEO, Dr. Calvin Moore, and our VIP programs department, Abina Okran-Jackson. My name is Vilma Williams, and I'm the Senior Manager for the Multilingual Engagement and Learning Program. And it is a pleasure for me to present this important session to you today. Also today, we have a treat. We have one of our colleagues, Alicia Carter, who is the Communications, Engagement and Learning Coordinator, and she's behind the scenes helping us to make sure that everything goes smoothly, and she's going to help us with questions and answers. Thank you, Alicia. Before we begin, I want to give you some logistics, some housekeeping information for you to know. Number one, we love for you to have questions that are pertinent to the presentation. So there is a feature on your screen that is questions and answers, or Q&As, and we want you to write your questions there. Try to avoid questions that are too personal. For those questions, I will give you my information at the end, and you can, write to me or call me later. Questions about what we are discussing are welcome. So you will write your questions, and Alicia at some point is going to read the questions so that I can answer. Also, we are not going to be using the chat feature, okay? So don't use it because we're not going to read it. We're going to use just the questions and answers. Also, I want you to know that I know that you have this question all the time. Are you going to get a certificate for attending this session? Yes, you're going to get a certificate for attending this session within a week. So it's not going to be tomorrow. It's going to be within a week, okay? However, in order to get your certificate, your name has to be listed on this session. So if any of you have your program's name, or you have a number or an email or anything like that, you need to change it. And to change it, you need to go to that little, not now, but later, you can go to the little video box, and there are going to be 3 dots there. And then when you open those 3 dots, it's going to be an option called rename. So when you rename, you put the name that you want to appear on your certificate of attendance. Okay, thank you so much. So those are the housekeeping things that I have. And now we're going to go into the real presentation. So today we're talking about home visitor, CDA credential. What is the home visitor credential? So before I even get into that, I want to make sure that everybody is clear that, because this, what I'm going to explain to you is the most popular, mistake, or the most popular thing that people can confuse between 2 settings. So there are 2 different settings. One is called family child care. That is when a person, an educator, is at home or in somebody's home, and the children come to him or to her, and she provides this care and education in a home, directly to the children. That's family child care. We're not talking about that credential today. We're talking about the home visitor credential. The home visitor is a person, an educator, that does not teach children. This educator teaches adults. So they get like a caseload of a number of families in their care, and they become responsible to educate these families, to give them the skills and the knowledge to teach the families, the adults. And it could be the mom, the dad, it could be the grandparent, it could be an uncle, grandma, whoever makes a decision that they want this education from the home visitor. It is volunteer, and they will be registered. And so the home visitor provides that to the adults. And at some point, the home visitor leaves, and the adults are in great shape so that they can educate and raise their own children, right? So the council is totally committed to supporting the work of these adult educators, knowledgeable and experienced home visitors, working in home-based programs, aspiring to earn the CDA credential for home visitors. And the credential aligns perfectly with the rich research that teaches us that educating parents has a great impact on their children's development. So we all know that if the parents are home, the children don't go to a program. For the different reasons, they're not enrolled in any programs, they are at home. The easiest thing to do is put them in front of the TV or give them a tablet, right? We don't want that to happen. We want the parents to have the knowledge and the education that the home visitor brings to these families to do this job. So that's the first point. And I hope that you're in the right path. So what does a home visitor, this adult educator, has to do to earn the CDA credential? So I want you to know that there are many programs that are known, like nationally. The biggest is Head Start and Early Head Start. They have home visitors. They have home visitor programs. Then we have other programs like Parents as Teachers, HIPPY USA, etc. Right? So the programs require the home visitor, like the Head Start and Early Head Start, they require the home visitor to have a degree in a specific field or a CDA. So the CDA opens a lot of options. It opens the door for someone to move into professionalizing what they do. So this credential means that. So how do you get this home visitor credential? What you see right now in this graphic represents the steps and the stages that candidates for home visitor CDA need to follow. And let me tell you, if you're familiar with the other settings, if you're familiar with center-based preschool, center-based infant toddler, family child care, what they have to do is similar, but the home visitor is very special. Remember, they don't work with children, they work directly with the adults. Sometimes they model with children, but the focus is the adults, right? So because this is a very special field, very special job, and it's not like the others, we have, in 2016, we called the experts in home visitation to try to change the way we were assessing home visitors, because it wasn't like this, to make it look like the preschool, infant toddler. And we tried, but we couldn't do it exactly the same. So there are variables. When you apply for home visitor, there are variables. For example, you can see right away something is missing in this picture. The exam. Home visitors don't take the exam. There are many reasons why, but I'm going to give you one. Because their job is not just to teach, it's not to teach children, it's to teach adults. They are also social workers, nurse, nutritionist. They have many roles involved in being a home visitor. So creating an exam for that would take a long time, years, right? So that's one reason. But what we did is we strengthened the process of the evaluation for the verification visit. And I'm going to be pointing at you some things that changed, that are different, that require other requirements for home visitor. So these stages are 3. The home visitor candidates need to prepare. Then when they're ready and they meet all the requirements in the preparation stage, they apply, and then they have to demonstrate, yes, I meet all these requirements, I meet the standards, come and assess me, right? So today we're going to talk about these 3 stages, one at a time. The first stage is the preparation, is in purple, and that includes that the candidate has to meet a lot of requirements, some requirements. And when the candidate finish those requirements, which requirements? Education requirements, experience, and then documentation requirements, because they had to complete a professional portfolio. When all this is done, they have to select a PD specialist to complete the assessment, to complete the final assessment, right? Called the verification visit. So they apply, and then you see this, the second stage is in green, apply the application. So they apply, And then once they apply, the council responds and says, yeah, you're ready. So go ahead with your verification visit. You get 6 months. So then you enter into the stage of demonstrate. Now you demonstrate that you deserve to earn this home visitor CDA credential. And then you have your assessment with your PD specialist. And the assessment is the verification visit. No exam in person view, no exam at all. Okay, for home visitors, there is no exam. So here you have another visual of how this looks from another point of view. Same colors. The purple is the preparation. You have to meet requirements for literacy education anytime. Work experience within the past 3 years. And you have to complete a portfolio. And that should have been done within 6 months before you apply for the assessment. And in this portfolio, we have something new for home visitors only. We require a recommendation from an assessor, and I'll explain to you that in a few seconds. The candidate also has, number 4, to select a PD specialist and send the application. And then on number 5, the candidate within 6 months after receiving, approval for their application, they will complete the verification visit. And then once the verification visit is completed on number 5, the PD specialist sends the results to the council. And on number 6, we, the council, makes the final decision. And let this be clear, the PD specialist does not make the final decision. The PD specialist conducts the assessment. The candidate obtains a beautiful credential. It's more beautiful than this picture because that gold seal is a gold seal. It's very beautiful. And it's not forever. It's just for 3 years. And before the 3 years are over, you have to renew it. But when you renew it, you don't have to go through the assessment, all the assessment. It's easier. It's a little simpler, and I'll explain that to you. So what do you need to start? You need to have a competency standards book for home visitors. And at the council, we have color-coded the books. So for the home visitors, the books are purple. They come in 2 languages, English and Spanish. And actually, this afternoon, we have a session at 2 in Spanish language too, okay? So this, I mentioned that this was a change from 2016, right? So we try to make this process strong. It's based on the latest research and the latest trends in the field of early childhood home visitation. It is fast because the candidate manages their own timeline, right? It's easy because it has been simplified and has the support of not only the PD specialist, but also the role of the CDA assessor. So let's go over the requirements that you need to meet in order to apply. All of this has to be met before you send the application, okay? And Alicia is gonna tell me if you write a question, and she's gonna tell me there is a question and then I will answer. So far, Alicia, do we have questions?
Yes, we do have one question.
Okay.
And it says, are Head Start programs hiring applicants to support obtaining the CDA?
The question is Head Start hiring applicants to support CDA candidates? Is that the question?
Yes.
Head Start is always hiring. So for that, the answer to that question, you have to contact your local Head Start and see if there are, or go online, to Head Start and find out. We are not Head Start, we're the council. We're the ones who assess the candidates. Okay, thank you. Okay, so let's go to the first requirement.
Well, hold on, Vilma, we have another question that just came in, and it says,
sure.
Can the CDA exam be taken in Spanish?
Yes, but remember that we're talking about home visitor. Home visitor does not have an exam. But for the other settings, the exam can be, at this moment, can be taken in English or in Spanish, okay? It can be taken in another language if you work in that language. So that is the key here, and we're gonna talk about that. What is the language of your work? That assess the tone for how your assessment is going to be and what requirements you had to meet, okay? So talking about that, if you are applying for CDA, you are required to be able to speak, read, and write in the language of your assessment well enough so that you can fulfill the responsibilities of a home visitor. You have to go to all these homes and visit the families and teach them and read things for them, right? Okay, so what is the language of the assessment? The language of the assessment is a language in which the home visitor, the candidate, conducts his or her home visits. So if your home visits are conducted in English, regardless of where you're from, that's your job. They hire you to conduct your visits in English, then you have to apply for a CDA in English. If your home visits happen in Spanish and they hire you to do home visits in Spanish, then you have to apply for Spanish, an assessment in Spanish. If your home visits occur in both languages, you could apply for the bilingual specialization. You could also apply just for English or Spanish because you're bilingual, so you have more choices, right? But I want you to know it's not just that you choose, but all the requirements have to be met according to the language and the setting. Okay, and then we're gonna talk about that. For those candidates who work as home visitors using other languages, let's say that you are doing your visits, you conduct your visits and you're teaching to adults in Amharic, it's the language for the Ethiopian population. You could ask the council to assess you in that language, but that requires another little piece. So if anybody's interested in that, you need to write to me because we have created a very special system to assess candidates who work in other languages, to assess them in those languages. And we have assessed 26 other languages already at the council. Okay. Moving along, for anyone to apply for the home visitor credential, also there is an education requirement. You must have completed your high school education from any country, from the United States or any country. And you should have also completed, by the time you apply, 120 clock hours of formal education in the 8 CDA subject areas notated in your competency standards book. That information is on page 9 and 10 of your competency standards book that is purple, okay? And so you have to have the education, the theory, and we have 8 specific subject areas that is the basic theory. And at least you have to have 10 hours per subject area. So in some areas, you're going to have more than 10 hours because at the end, you have to have a total of 120 hours. And all the education, all these hours must be obtained under the auspices of an agency or an organization or an institution with expertise in early childhood teacher preparation or adult education. So a person by herself or by himself shouldn't be teaching you these hours unless this person is under the umbrella of an organization or agency or an institution, okay? Also, when you complete your training, they have to give you a diploma or a certificate or an official letter on letterhead so that we can accept it. That includes your name, how many hours of training, the days of training, the logo, the training program logo, name, and an official signature and title. We do not accept log sheets. We do not accept workshops at conferences. So it has to be, a well put together program for training for home visitor CDA. Any questions about that? Alicia?
So we do have quite a few in the Q&A.
Okay.
So the first one, well, let's go to some that were more about what you were speaking about, since you were just talking about the language piece. So one is, can the portfolio be in Spanish?
Yeah, we're gonna talk about the portfolio in a few seconds. Yes, but if you are applying for English, your portfolio has to be in English. Your PD specialist has to speak English. You will be observed using English. If you apply in Spanish, your portfolio has to be in Spanish. Your PD specialist has to speak Spanish. Your observation, when they come to observe you, you have to speak Spanish. Your portfolio has to be in Spanish. But we also know that there are some items in the portfolio, some things that cannot be in Spanish because they don't exist. So if you're applying for that Spanish or any other language, you have to go to page 32 of the Competency Standards book on page 32, where you have the specifics about that. Okay, another question?
Yeah, so we have one about, it says, would the French language be a part of that process? So essentially, any language aside from English and Spanish.
Yes, the process is the same, but there is a little piece before we approve your application that you have to do is if it's in another language. For that, you need to call me, and I'll give you my number at the end, or write to me, okay? But is it possible to be assessed in French? Absolutely. If your job requires you to speak French to the children and families. It is not because I feel more comfortable, because English is my second language. No, that's not the reason. Because remember, we are assessing your performance. So it has to be the real thing. Okay, next, another question.
Yeah, we have, if I wanted to obtain a CDA, where can I work to get the 480 hours in a home visitor program serving families with children ages birth to 5 years?
My counseling to you is go to the nearest Head Start program or Early Head Start and inquire. Offer your services, because sometimes, because this is home visiting, it's not like working with children, it's easier to volunteer. It's more delicate, right? But you can shadow people, and sometimes they let you do home visits, depends on the employer. But you can do that, and we're getting into the experience right now, just now, because it could be volunteer, but it's not so easy to find volunteer programs for home visitor. It's most likely that for other, like preschool, infantile, yes, but however, it's not impossible. Okay, another question.
Actually, I think some of these questions may get answered as you continue to
Boom.
go.
Okay.
So maybe we touch back
Yeah.
on them after you finish your next section.
Absolutely. Okay, so now we're talking about the other requirement, experience. To apply for this credential, you must have at least 480 hours of work experience working in home visiting programs, serving families who have children birth to 5. 480 hours is about, if it's kind of full-time, it's like 6 months. If it's not full-time, it'll take a little bit more, but it could be, in any home visiting program. And it has to be within the past 3 years. So the last requirement is we want you to create a professional portfolio. So a professional portfolio is composed by different parts, okay? And this information very specifically is in the book. Everything I'm telling you is in the Competency Standards book, even more specific. If it's not in the book, it's not true. If somebody told you something, look in the book. If it's not in the book, it's not true. You can write to me, okay? So in the book, on the back of the book, you have all the forms, everything you need to put together your portfolio. And this includes cover sheets. So why do we give you cover sheets? We give you cover sheets so that you can put it together in a certain order. Cover sheets are like sheets that have a title, that tell you what should be in this section. And in the book is in order. So you just follow that order. There is one sheet called my professional portfolio cover sheet that tells you everything that you have to do in the portfolio that you have to have. There's one about the summary of the education, in where you have to put how many hours of education you have and what subject areas and all of that. Then we have family questionnaires. What is that? And I'll explain more about that. But family questionnaires have the input, the opinion of the families that work with you. And they talk about how's your performance? Do they like you? Are you doing great? So you have a sheet, a cover sheet that summarizes what the families are saying. And behind that sheet, you put the questionnaires that you will collect, okay? Then comes these 2 forms that you see here in bold are forms that are only for home visitors, not for preschool, not for infantile, and not for family childcare. Just home visitor candidates have to have this in their portfolio. One is called a parent observation permission form. Parent observation, because when you do the observation, you're not going to do it in a center. You're going to do it with one family, and I'll explain that to you. So you need a permission from that family. That's why. And the last one that I already mentioned to you is the CDA assessor recommendation, and it has to be sealed. You're not supposed to read it. It's confidential from the assessor to the council, and I'll explain that to you. So these are the cover sheets, and then comes the what I call it, the heart of the portfolio, the heart. You have to have a resource collection. And in the book, it tells you what is the resource collection? We're going to talk a little bit about here. You have to compile some documentation, some resources that you should have used, that you should be using in your work, that you like, that you love, and then you put them there. This portfolio is like you bragging about your work. I am so good. I do this. That's how the portfolio means for a candidate. And then we're going to ask you to have reflective statements of competence. You have to reflect on your performance, on your work, how good you're doing this. So we ask you to have 6 of these, and I'll explain that to you. And then finally, one more statement of reflective statement is called a professional philosophy statement. And I love it. When I explain to you, you're going to love it too. Some people think this is so hard. It's not. It's just putting in writing what you do. And when you finish this, you're going to be amazed to find out how this exercise, putting together the portfolio, has made you think, reflect, and validate everything you do. Okay? So this is a list of the same thing that I mentioned in a different way. It's a list of the portfolio components. So let me talk to you a little bit about the family questionnaires that I mentioned. So when you apply for Home Visitor CDA, you have to give each of your families a questionnaire that they have to complete based about, what they think about you and the work that you're doing with them. So you must have, to apply for this credential, you must have at least 4 families. If you have less than 4 families, you cannot apply. You may have 5, 10, 12, and the requirement is that once you give the questionnaires and they complete it, you have to collect them now that they're finished, and you have to collect the majority. The majority means more than half, or half plus 1. So if you have 10 families, half is 5, right? The majority means more than half. So if you have 6, then you have it. But if you ask me, try to collect all of them. The more you collect, the more that you're going to be able to use them for your own benefit, right? So this is how the family questionnaires look. As you can see, there is a letter, an introduction letter, and they come in Spanish too. And then there are questions about you, the families need to answer. For example, just let me give you one example, right? It says, helps me to provide a safe, clean environment for my child and teaches me and the members of my family to follow general hygiene practices. 1 means not enough, very little or nothing. 2 means, yeah, it's good, it's capable. 3 means great, it's a strength, very capable, okay? So they just have to circle that. And the council is very serious about collecting this opinion of these families, and it's an opportunity for them to provide feedback regarding your performance, regarding your competence, okay? So let's talk about the other form that I said is just for home visitors, the parent observation permission form. So you remember that you have more than 4 families, right? So you have to decide which family is going to be the family where they will be observing you, where the PD specialist at the end, on the day of your final assessment or verification visit, you're going to go with the PD specialist to one of these families, and you will conduct a home visit, and the PD specialist will observe you and will be recording your performance, how are you doing, in a special form called CSI. Okay, so this CSI is in the back of the book too. It's not a surprise. Nothing is hidden in this assessment. Everything is there open for you to see, you know. So the CSI is located on the very back of the competency standards book, and I advise you to look at it before you even give it to the before the PD specialist comes, and you have to give that to the PD specialist. But before the PD specialist comes, I advise you to please take a look at it, so that you know what are they going to observe. CSI means comprehensive scoring instrument, right? So if you choose one family, you also have to give this family that you're choosing, okay, I'm going to go with the Gibsons. On the day of my observation, I want to visit the Gibsons. So you have to give the Gibsons a form that is called parent observation permission form for them to sign and say, I give my permission so that this PD specialist can come in my home with the candidate. Okay? So we also tell the candidates just to make sure, have plan B. That's your plan A, right? But in case something happens, choose another family, just in case something happens with the first family, and ask them to be your backup plan so that they can sign a form just in case. Okay? So I hope that is clear. So what do you do with that form when the parents give them to you? You put it in your portfolio. Okay, remember that was one of the pieces, right? The cover sheets too. And the last thing that I'm going to talk about is the assessor recommendation. So in the other settings, preschool, infantile, and family childcare, we don't have an assessor. But in home visitor, we do have a new role called assessor. Who is this assessor and what do they have to do? So the candidate selects a professional to serve as his or her assessor, CDA assessor. And the job of this assessor, the only job, is to complete a recommendation form based on what they know about the candidate's home visiting work with families and children. So, for example, a recommendation, they don't have to observe you at all. It has to be somebody that knows you, and they know it has to be somebody like an official home visitor coach or a mentor or an instructor in your program or in the training agency, somebody that knows you, has been involved in your professional life for at least 12 weeks before they do the recommendation, before they write it. Okay? So again, no one is going to observe you. It has to be somebody that you say, you know me so well, can you complete my recommendation, be my assessor? Sure, give me the form, I'll fill it out and give it back to you. Okay, no need to observe you because I already know how you are and all of that. So once they give you the recommendation form, they have to give it to you in a sealed envelope. You're not supposed to open it. The PD specialist will open it, and you just put it in your portfolio. Any questions, Alicia, about the things that I have mentioned?
Let's see.
About the parents, about the assessor.
Yes, so we have one that says, how will the parents who are getting the home visitor credential get access to CDA courses in order to be observed?
The parents,
Mm-hmm.
the parents don't get to be observed. Let's go back to the notion of the home visitor. The parents are home for many reasons, maybe they're there part-time or etc., right? The home visitor is the educator that comes to your home, knocks on the door, comes in, and teaches you, the mom. Maybe you just had a baby, right? Or you have a 2-year-old, or you have a child, or maybe different children, different ages, but no more than 5 years old, right? So the home visitor teaches you the things, the skills and the knowledge, how to read to your children, how to change the diaper, how to do, how to keep your house safe and healthy, blah, blah, blah. So the one that is applying for CDA is not the parent. The one that is applying for CDA is the home visitor. Okay? So how do they get their education? They get it in different ways. Different programs, different institutions provide home visiting education. If you want to know where you can get courses, I can give you some ideas. You write to me at the end of the session. Okay, another question?
Yeah, so those who earn this credential, do they conduct the PD visits for family child cares?
Those who earn this credential, the home visitor credential, they earn this credential because they need them to work as home visitors or to look for a good job as home visitors. The home visitors don't work as family child care educators. Family child care educators are those who are in a home and the children come to the house, the children come to the home and they stay there for like 7 hours, 8 hours. The parents bring them in like a center, but it's not a center, it's a family childcare home. They have to have a license, they teach the children in their home, whatever, and then the children go home. That's family childcare. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about home visitor, the one that goes from family to family teaching the adults. Next question.
So can an observation still be conducted if they do not have half or more of parent questionnaires?
Possibly, the observation can still be conducted, but if they don't have all the questionnaires, the PD specialist is going to find out when they check the portfolio, oops, the parent questionnaires, and is going to collect that information, send that to the council. So I'm pretty sure that the council will follow up. The visit, I'm pretty sure, can still happen. Depends, if there are some things that are definitely not met, they probably will consult with the council in order to complete the visit or not. Okay. Next, more questions?
Yeah, so we have one that would like you to repeat when you need an assessor.
When do you need an assessor?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody needs an assessor if you're applying. Oh, let me go back.
Well,
If you're
at what point in the process do you need the assessor?
Look at the color. Color purple is preparation, right? You're meeting the requirements. You have not applied yet. Remember, the purple is when you are preparing. And when you have everything that we require, then you send your application. So you haven't paid yet. You haven't applied yet because you only apply. When you send that application, it means I'm done. I'm ready. I'm ready for you to come and assess me. Okay? Next. Oops.
I'm a Head Start teacher. I have 20 families and 2 home visits per year. Can I use these hours to apply?
No. If you, these home visits are not the home visits that you do when you're a teacher in preschool or in infant toddler, and sometimes you go to the families and you visit them, but you provide the care and education to the children in your classroom. You just happen to visit the parents to see how they're doing, where do they live, blah, 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 right? Home visitor programs per se, the ones that are home visitation modules, like Head Start, Early Head Start, home visiting, parents as teachers, Hippie USA, Migrant Head Start. There are some programs that are specific home visitor programs, UPO, United Planning Organization, etc. These programs don't work like the other programs. And what was the question again? Repeat again, please.
The question was as a current Head Start teacher.
Oh, yeah. I got the questions. Thank you. So sorry.
Mhm.
Yeah. So those visits as a Head Start teacher you cannot apply for home visitor if you're a teacher in the Head Start in the classroom. That's total different setting. You can only apply for home visitor when you are a home visitor and your job is, the focus of your job is to have a caseload of families. You don't work in the center, you work outside. You take a bus or you take a Uber or you drive your own car and you go from family to family according to your schedule of families to teach them. That's what it is. You don't mix them. Thank you. So let's move on and then we can stop for more questions. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're still in the portfolio. Remember, we haven't finished the preparation. This is the last thing we're doing. So we're going to talk about the resource collection in the portfolio for home visitors. Some items reflect, like the other settings, but some are very specific. And I'm just going to give you some examples of the things that we want you to collect to put in your portfolio as part of your resource collection. The first aid and CPR for infant and child, and the CPR course, that the original card that they give you, they give you a card, or you put that in the portfolio, in the resource collection. Nobody's gonna take it away from you. Then you have to have the weekly plan for home visits. It's a weekly plan, but for your home visits. Then summary of legal requirements for child abuse and neglect. The learning experiences that we're talking here are not for children. These learning experiences are for the families, for the adults. I'll just give you an example. I want to talk about a literacy, language experience is that I provide my families with information about how to obtain a library card so we can get books. In this activity we schedule a trip to the library, and I do this and that, and then you have to tell us how, the things that you do and all of that. That is an example of a learning experiences for an adult in a family. Okay, so their experiences are not for children, they are for the adults. Family resources guide is like a manual, something that you have for the families to know what to expect. What is this about, right? Sample of a family plan. Each family, just like the children have in centers, the plan, their own plans, the families have to have their plans. So you'd have to give us a sample. Again, the more specific information is in the book. Then you have to have a state or federal policy information related to home-based programs. A list of 2 or 3 national associations, information about community mental health services. Okay, so these are the big, things that you have to get. But if you want a specific information, you go to the competency standards book, the color purple. So once you have your resource collection, now we ask you to write reflective statements of competence. What does this mean? It's pretty simple. So that you understand, I have to show you a picture. What you see here are the competency standards. The competency standards are the standards, the guides for us to know people that are competent and people that are not. So these are the standards for you to be competent, right? They're called CDA competency standards. They were developed in the early 70s, and they have proven to be sound, they've proven to be effective, reliable, and also they have been proven to be inclusive, international. I mean, you can apply this anywhere. So these competency standards are the whole picture, are composed by 6 competency goals. These 6 competency goals are the dreams of the profession. We hope and dream that the candidate meets this. And because they are broad and big in general, we have defined them into functional areas. So for every competency goal, there is a number of functional areas that specifies what are the functions. What do we mean by this? If we even have in the book, the second part of the book, the competency standards book, is a big section just dedicated to the competency standards, to the competency goals and functional areas, right? So you have even examples of the things that you may be doing. We don't want you to copy from there, but so to give you an idea, right? So what we're asking you to do, and these are the basis for your assessment. So we basically, at the end, you have to prove, yes, I meet these goals, these dreams on the left side. Therefore, I have to meet the functional areas, right? I meet them and I'm going to prove them to you. How do you prove them to me? You have to write in your portfolio. Then you will also be observed, and you also going to demonstrate this in observation, right? So when you write on the portfolio, we're asking you to write for each of these 6 goals, 1 reflective statement of your competence. And to do that, I'm going to go back. It says you begin writing each statement with, like a paragraph that where you write, you describe how my practice, what I do, my work meets this goal, this standard, right? So for example, for the first one, this is, everything is I help parents, I help the families to establish and maintain a safe, healthy learning environment. Remember, because you're teaching this to them. And then it says, begin with a paragraph where you explain how your practice, how your work meets this. So I would say, I believe I'm great in this, in competency goal 1, because my major thing when I work with parents is to make sure that they learn that their home needs to be safe with these little children. And healthy is important because blah, 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 blah. And the learning environment has to be inviting and happy because the children learn better. I mean, this is your chance to brag and to throw flowers on you, that you meet it. Why you meet this? It says 1 paragraph only, right? Per goal. And then on the second part here, it says, you also have to write, you have to reflect now, and to write, the book is going to tell you, remember that item number, the plan for the parents, that you had to write, okay? Now we want you to reflect. And the book is going to tell you what to say, what to write. Who developed that plan? If you had to change it, what would you change? Why is it so wonderful? So you just have to follow everything the book is asking you to write. Okay, so the first thing you have to do for each statement is to write your paragraph bragging about your work, why your work meets this goal. And then you just follow the book and then you're done, right? Here are the competency goals again, just the goals. There are 6, right? And they are on page 39 of your book. And you have to do that 6 times, okay? And then the last thing you have to do is you have to write, this to me, this is the most beautiful thing, a professional philosophy statement where the book tells you exactly what you need to write. And this is so personal that I don't believe anybody can have the same but you, right? And it says everything you have to write is in your own words. In your very own words, you will write, what are your beliefs? What are your values about early childhood education and home visitation, like teaching parents when you visit them, right? And in the book also says that after you completed your portfolio, how your experience has been, what can you say? So you write that down. Like before I did my portfolio, I thought that my work was, important and big. But after writing my portfolio, now that I'm finishing, I can see how much I do and how this makes so much sense, because blah, 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 right? So you write about that. And then you have to talk about, how do you believe children learn? You write that down. And based on this, what do you believe your role is? What is your role? And then beyond teaching and learning, reflect and write about what you believe are the other important aspects of your role in the lives of children and families. So this is your opinion. There is no right and wrong. You start writing about this. Where are you going from here? What are your dreams? That's what you have to write. Okay, so that's what I think is so beautiful. But because you're gonna get carried away once you know it, it says stop, no more than 500 words per statement, like about 2 pages, right? Okay. And then you're done. You met all the requirements, remember? The education, the experience, and now you made a requirement also for the portfolio. So now you apply and you select, before you apply, you select the PD specialist. We have some ways for you to select the PD specialist. The PD specialist has to be endorsed, authorized to conduct assessments for home visitors. And what is the job of the specialist is 3 things. On the day of your assessment, number 1, they have to review your portfolio, your professional portfolio. They have to observe you working with one family, and then they're gonna conduct a reflective dialogue. The review of the portfolio is scored. They score it. The observation, they're gonna score it. But the reflective dialogue, they're gonna sit down and they're gonna talk to you about where your plans. They're gonna help you reflect on the strengths and the things that you had to better. That is not score. Okay, so before you send the application, you have to select the PD specialist. And then when the PD specialist says yes, I can be your PD specialist, they have to give you their endorsement number. They have a special number that you had to put in the application. Okay, so how do you find a PD specialist? There are 3 ways. In the council website, we have a program called Find a PD Specialist. And then you just go put your zip code, click, and all these little flags come up. And then you have to find somebody who's home visitor, PDS, close to you, and then you choose, right? If you already know somebody who's a PD specialist, you can ask them. And if you don't have that, you can ask somebody in your community that you believe this person should be a PD specialist. You ask them to apply and become a PD specialist. And if you do that, write to me, okay, to make sure that we help this person. Excuse me. So again, the PD specialist has to agree with your language for the assessment. There has to be proficient in the same language. And also has to be a PDS for home visitors. You start your application online. You're going to have an email that is not shared by anybody. It's just your email. And that's going to be the means of communication with the council. You have to have the number and the name of the PD specialist. You have to have your director's email address. And how are you going to pay? And then you apply. There's 2 ways to apply. You can apply on paper. We totally not like that because it's turtle time. It will take forever for you to apply on paper. And if you make a mistake, we have to send the paper back to you. You have to send it back to us. And after the pandemic, the mail service has been completely slow. And another thing is that the council, we're working at home, so we're not in the office. So it takes a little longer, okay? Plus, the paper application costs $500. If you do it online, it's faster. And if you make a mistake, the computer won't let you, the system won't let you move until you fix it. So, and it's $75 cheaper. It's $425, right? So once you send your application, to do that, you go to the website, to your council, and you access your your council at yourcouncil.org. And then you open an account, you click there, and then you have to provide all the information that you need. And you will be receiving info at yourcouncil.org. So make sure that that is in your safe list. So as soon as you start, the system will allow you to enter immediately to this program called Your Council. And they will email you a username and a password. Okay, so you have to have your very unique email. Different people cannot share the same email. Please enter your name as the same name as your ID, but also the name you want on your certificate when you get your CDA, right? And then once you go into your council, you have this information in your personal dashboard. You will have a menu bar with everything you need, a resource library. You will have a message history. This is important. This is where you have to come and check your messages, okay? And then you have what's new at the council. So you have all the information here once you open your, and then here is where you go to apply, to initiate your application. There, right there. Once you initiate your application, you will create an application and you will send it to the council. And then when we approve the application, we send you a notice called ready to schedule notice. Basically, the ready to, if you apply online, you'll receive the notice via email. If you apply on paper, you'll receive the notice by via email if you have an email, or we will send it postal, right? So this notice has information about how to schedule your verification visit with a PD specialist. Remember, there is no exam for home visit, right? So the information that you receive says, candidate, we approve your application. This is your candidate ID number. Please keep that handy, okay, all times. And then information on how to schedule your verification visit. You have to use the interactive tool in the computer in your council. And then this notice says, candidate, now you have 6 months. You're approved. Your application is approved. Now you have 6 months to complete your assessment. And now comes the assessment, the day of the final assessment, right? Okay, on the day of the final assessment, I said the PD specialist will come, meet with you, and at some point they will review the portfolio. It has to be in a private place with no interruptions. And then you together, you have to go, or separate, but you have to go to that family where you remember you want to be observed. And how long are you going to be observing that family? Depends. It depends on the program. If your program requires that your visits are 1 hour, that's what they're going to be observing you, 1 hour. If the program says, no, your visits are 2 hours, that's what, and then after the observation, you will conduct your visit just as regularly you do, and then you will have the reflection. The PD specialist will send the recommended scores to us, and we get them within 48 hours. We will review everything that the PDS has collected, all the information, comments, and all of that, including the assessor recommendation, which weighs heavy on your assessment. And then we award the credential based on the documentation that was presented. And then 3 years later, you have to renew it, right? To renew, you don't have to go through the whole thing. It's based on continuing education. You just have to renew it. You are able to renew within 6 months before it expires, right? But you have a grace period of, at this moment, is almost a year grace period. That doesn't mean active. It means that you can renew it, but for other purposes, your credential has expired. So we have renewal procedure guides online, in the council's website. It says renew your CDA right there. And you have everything you need to renew, all the procedures, there are guidelines for you to download. They are also in Spanish and in English. Renewal is so easy, okay? And you can only renew if you have a credential for a home visitor. You can always renew home visitor. You cannot change it to anything else, right? The same group and the same age. And the renewal is very easy. It's 3 categories. You have to renew based on professional development, continuing education, and membership in an organization. You should have continued working with families and children. And the safety, you always should have the first aid and your CPR. That should never, never expire. And all these requirements are in the book. Something very important that I want to say before we leave is that we highly encourage you to participate in this wonderful, wonderful professional/social platform that the council offers for free to all of the community, the CDA community. It's called the Council Alumni Network. But actually, it's not an alumni all. Alumni meaning anybody who's associated with CDA, anybody who wants to be a CDA, anybody who's a home visitor, who wants to get a credential, maybe your credential expired, anybody's welcome. So to join, there is the link to join. Why is this wonderful? Because it provides you with the opportunity to network, to find colleagues that share your same hopes and dreams. You are invited to events and promotions. You are, sometimes these events include people that you probably never thought that you will see them so close to you, very wonderful people, renowned people in the field. You can create your own group. And guess what? There is a group for home visitors there with wonderful information. You can post, if you want a job, if you are offering a job. I mean, the possibilities are endless and it's free. So I urge you to look into it and join as soon as you can, because you're gonna love it, okay? Okay, we have 1 minute. I think we are on the time, yeah, but we can have 1 minute to any dying question. And if we did not answer your questions, please write them to me, okay?
So we do have quite a few questions, and I want to get through some of them that were asked a little early on. And if we have time, I know we're at the end, but if
we can do a few minutes. I'm willing to stay, and if anybody has to go, we understand. You can go. You still get your certificate, but we will allow for a few questions. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so one is in terms of the 180 hours of training, would
Mhm.
a specific training such as being an accredited Montessorian qualify?
Depends. Write to me and we will totally discuss this and you will have your answer because it's going to take a little bit more time to answer. But write to me. My email is, see my name there is Vilma W, right? I don't know if I can, I thought it was on the on this page. I'm so sorry. Let me see. Yeah, it's not in this page. So it's Vilma W at cdacouncil.org. Just like the first line here. Do you see this first line says www? Erase the W's and put Vilma W, and then the rest is the same. Vilma W, VILMA, okay, VILMA at cdacouncil.org. And then write to me and I will respond. Okay, another question?
So another one is, can we get a list of organizations that support home visitors?
Write to me, I will send you everything I have. Another question?
For someone CDA that expired 10 years ago, what is the process for renewal?
10 years ago, unfortunately, you cannot renew because your credential has expired and the grace period is way over 10 years. So you need to start again. You need to apply again to get a CDA credential for home visit. Next.
We have someone who wants to know how to get started in the sector, in the home visitor sector.
Yeah. For that, for employment, we really don't have the resources to give you for that, except that you Google the home visitor programs that are in your locality and you inquire with them. Another question?
Yeah, if a candidate took the 120 hours from a trainer in 2020 and that trainer is now a PD specialist, can he or she conduct the observation?
According to what I know, 2020, I think it's 2 years that have to be removed from that relationship. So that will be 4 years. Yes. Yeah. Unless there's still a conflict, unless you're too familiar with each other, then I would say no.
Okay. My training business teaches the CDA 120 hours. I would really like to teach the home visitors. How can I make this happen?
Write to me. Write to me and I'll give you some tips.
So I am a PD specialist and they are endorsed for the infant toddler, pre-K, and family childcare. But they want to add home visiting. How would they do that?
You can add it by applying, send a new application, but you have to, when you answer the questions about the background, education, and experience, you have to have a very strong background and experience in home visitation, per se. One more question.
All right, let me look and see. So I have a good one. Are the home visitors organizations based on an approval system that the CDA Council partners with, or are there any random organizations or entities throughout the country?
Okay, so the council at this precise moment does not approve all the organizations. What we have at this moment is the approval of the education of the candidates. So not the organization per se. We used to, when we had for some period the goal, right? We will accept training from an organization that has the expertise with teacher preparation in early childhood and adult education. So you basically have to, if an organization exists that is training home visitors, but you meet your local or your state requirements to be such an organization, we will accept your training. Next. I think this should be the last one. Unless you tell me differently, that's fine.
Um, so okay, here's a good one. Is there an official family plan or does it come from the agency where I work?
Oh, it comes from the agency where you work because that is based on the community, the type of needs that they have, and different programs have different ways to work. So the form is the form that you guys use in your program. And if you don't use any, you should create one because you have to be able to apply for CDA. Anissa Williams has a hand up. Anissa, do you want to open your mic to make it quicker?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, go
Good
ahead.
afternoon.
Yes.
Good afternoon. I know that you put your or that you verbally spoke your email address. Is it possible to have it typed into the question and answer or the chat section so that we can
Sure.
actually like copy it? Thank
Yeah.
you. And if you can just elaborate just a little more. I'm also a trainer. And wanted to know how I can become a trainer for the home visitation. That's the reason why I want your email address. But if you can just elaborate on that, just some, at least maybe 60 seconds of it.
Okay. So Anissa, to become a trainer for CDA, whether it's home visitor, preschool, infant toddler, or any of those, you have to look for an organization or institution that wants your services. You can train yourself, but that's not going to be approved by the council as an individual consultant.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anybody else? You can just open your microphone at this moment, at this point. If you have a question, just open your microphone and ask the question.
Yes, I have a question.
Hi, Sandra. Go ahead.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Hi. Yes. I let my CDA expire for some personal reasons. I moved into another position in Head Start, and I have come back to a home visitor because naturally that's where I belong with the littles and the families. However, that was 2 years ago, and I was told that I had to start the process all over again because it is expired. So I've been working on that, but I cannot find a PD specialist that is willing to come out to my very rural area. So
Okay.
what can I do?
Sandra, write to me.
Okay.
And I will help you resolve that, and along with my colleague Mackenzie, who is the head of the PDS team. So we will find a way to help you. Okay. If that means sometimes that you have to have your assessment remote or virtual, we have to explore. So write to me and then we will resolve it. Okay.
That sounds wonderful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Sandra. Anissa has another question.
Yes, where is she located? Because I am a home visitor PDS and I can do it.
Okay, Sandy, where are you located?
I'm in Montgomery County, Missouri.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that it was national.
Where are you, Anissa? Where are you, Anissa?
Okay. I'm in Atlanta, Georgia. I thought I didn't know it was national.
Atlanta to Missouri, that's quite a while, right? But
yeah. Well, I was willing. I'm sorry.
Thank you. That's wonderful. Thank you. Okay, do we have any more questions? Last call because we have another session for Spanish this afternoon, so we have to do some little things before we do the session. But it's fine, if anybody wants to stay and for more questions. Go ahead.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Yes, I am calling from St. Louis, Missouri, and I am a new home family educator.
Okay.
And we are trying to get the CDA, but I just don't know how to get to the process.
Okay, you don't know how to start, Leton?
Yes, I mean, I went on there one time and I registered and all that, but ever since then they have not sent me anything.
Oh, you're talking about the training program?
Yeah, the CDA.
Yeah, but that's different. Let me clarify, Leton. The training programs that we have in different locations, those are not ours. The training at this moment is not run by the council. There are many training organizations that teach CDA. We will approve the training if they are, organizations that meet the requirements of their state, or that, that they are those organizations for training. but they are not hours. So when you say, I want to start, you have to meet the requirements first. And then when you meet the requirements and you apply, that's when we start, you know, in a relationship with you really, when you apply, right? However, if you're looking for training, now how do I pick up my training and all that? Try to go back to them and ask and explain your situation and tell them, you know, I want to do it now. Okay, but I haven't heard from you. What can I do? Right?
Okay, okay.
Yeah. And the first thing that you have to do basically is to get the book, to purchase your competency standards book that is purple. That you can go online and the computer, you know, on the website, and you go to the bookstore, and then you choose that book, just like when you buy things in Amazon like that, and you buy your home visitor book, and then you start with that. But
Okay.
sometimes, the program, if you enter into a program, sometimes the program gives you the book. So find out if they're gonna give you the book before you purchase it.
Okay. So what when you say you have to meet the requirement, what are the requirements?
I just explained them to you. The whole purple things, remember that I explained to you that you had to meet education requirements, experience, and then the portfolio. Those three are the requirements.
Okay. So but that's basically the process that I would like to start with.
Yeah, that's what you have to start with that process. So go back to the training organization so that they can help you. Okay?
Okay. Okay. For the CDA
Yes,
council.
yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. So for that reason,
Alicia?
I'm not okay. So for that reason, I do not need to stay on here then.
Okay, thank you. That's
No,
good.
no,
That's
no,
fine.
I'm
No
asking.
problem.
No, I'm asking that
Yeah.
do I not need to stay on here?
Yeah, no, because we're done. We're just being, you know, gracious, and we're trying to acknowledge some more questions. But if anybody has to go, it's okay. We understand.
Okay.
Any
All
more
right. Thank you so
questions?
much.
You're welcome. Any more questions?
I have one.
Okay. I
My
don't
name's
see
Sally.
you.
I'm
I
sorry,
lost my ability
I
to
got
see.
on late. I was in another meeting, so I kind of
Okay.
missed everything.
Okay, so make your question. Ask your question.
I just am trying to figure out like what all this is really, because I know
Okay.
it's for a home visiting CDA. My supervisor explained that for me, but she signed me up. I don't have a background in home visiting, so I'm assuming that there is something that I'll have to do. And is that what you were sharing with the other young lady? Like we need to order a book
Yeah.
and do a
Start.
portfolio? Can you tell me
Yeah.
about that again?
Yeah. Well, what this was about is how to get your CDA as a home visitor.
Got
Because
it.
a lot of people need this to meet the requirements so that you can keep a job or you can apply for a job as a home visitor. That's what the whole thing was about. How to earn your CDA for home visitor.
Okay, and the steps for that are?
We already went through all those steps, but you have to prepare. Then once you prepare and meet all the requirements, you apply. And then after you apply, you have your assessment, your final assessment, called the verification visit. And the details are in the book.
Ms.
That's
Wood,
what,
I'm sorry.
Williams? Hello?
yeah, you're getting cut off.
Sorry, can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hi. We will get this slide, right? So to get all the details for ourselves.
Alicia, that's your question.
Sorry. Yes, the recording of this session will be emailed to everyone that registered and attended.
Perfect. So we can go over. All right, that works. Thank you.
Don't you just love it?
Have a great rest of your day, guys.
Yeah, we want you to succeed. I want you to know that we're here to support you. We're not here to put barriers. We want you to succeed, and that's why we're doing this for you. Okay. We wish you the best. Have a wonderful weekend, and call us or write to us if you need us. Okay.
Just
Thank
email.
you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.